Hey everyone, Warwick's here. So it's been a little while since I've done these. I'm going to do a vault video, and then we're going to talk about some of the changes that have happened in the Mythic Plus Season 4. Some of the changes that were data mined and discussed on Wowhead today. I want to look over those, because obviously Mythic Plus is my favorite mode in the game. So we're going to take a look at this. So today we're going to be going over the 5 vaults that I have. So I recently have been leveling this Evoker, and I have this character now to level 70, and I did just a little baby 2 key just to kind of test out. I'm learning Devastation. Eventually we'll learn Preservation as well, because I do want to have a second healer that I enjoy playing. Right now I haven't found that healer. So we're going to be taking a look at doing vaults on these characters, and then we'll go diving into the changes as posted on Wowhead. So I'll chapter out all of these just so you know which characters, if you want to look at a specific character and go from there. Now this character, like I said, is a pretty fresh 70. I think I've literally only been playing the character for like 4 days. Let's see, what's my slash played? I have a total of 15 hours on this character. So 4 calendar days basically that I've been playing. So I've been playing this character less than a day and leveled it like basically over the weekend or into the end of last week. So basically anything that I get, even on a +2 key, is going to be an upgrade. Ideally, I would like to get pants or shoulders so that I can turn them into tier. But really, at this point, you just kind of will take anything that isn't gloves, chest, or helm. And of course, I get a chest at champion track, so I'll catalyze that. No big deal. Oh, that's an offhand. I'm sorry, I misread that. Offhand. Crit verse, not the best stats. You want haste mastery typically for devastation. But I mean, we're talking an item level upgrade. I do have, I believe I have a spark. Believe it's in here. If not, I will get one very quickly. It won't be a big deal. So I can make a spark that has a yeah, I've got enough right here to do it. So I'll go ahead and make that, and then I can make a one-hander, make a sword that's haste mastery, just to give me a decent little weapon upgrade. So we take that and gets a baby key, which is a Darkheart Thicket. I will probably be working on this character. It is Mythic Dungeon week this week, so get your 4 Mythic Dungeons done. It's supposed to be Dungeon Week. There we go. Emissary of War. So we are going to get our Mythic Keys done this week on this character. Absolutely, to get that that vault slot, to get the 2 vault slots and that, and maybe get some gear in the short term. Something on the auction house. What did I accidentally sell? Oh, just a bunch of auctions expired. No big deal. I was trying to sell those for a little bit of extra cash, but nobody was taking them, so I'll just vendor those. No big deal. So off to a good start. We're going to get a weapon setup going here. After I got just a little haste mastery staff, I'll make a sword on this character soon. I'll get it into a guild order and get that ball rolling. So good stuff there. Next up, I did not do a key on my shaman. I've kind of been benching the shaman here recently. Played a lot of it early on, but I've just kind of fallen out of love with it, although I love the way that weapon looks. But we did do my Hunter, which is a character that I've been slowly playing a little bit less of. I'm basically going to get this character to 2500, get KSH on it, and then I'll probably bench it for the rest of the season. Because, again, spending time learning Evoker, and the early returns on Devastation are that I actually kind of enjoy it. The range is something I'm still getting used to, but early returns on Devastation are good. So this character is a Survival Hunter. Oh, hello, details. Get out of here. See. Yeah, I have unclaimed rewards. So for this character at survival, ideally I would like to maybe get a better trinket. Like Bandolier is fine, along with Augury. Ideally I would love to get a myth track or hero track Borrowed Time. That would be great. Other than that, it's just a matter of, can I get a decent like crit verse piece would be good, because I have a ton of haste now. Right, basically at haste cap, a little bit under crit cap, not there. So I need crit verse pieces basically that don't affect me much. So like replacing this belt at myth track would be great. Getting these boots off of myth track would be great. If not, I'll probably craft some. I've got a couple of decent rings with haste verse rings, but really, like I said, Borrowed Time would be a good one to get. Maybe a better neck to get a crit verse neck, or a haste verse or a haste crit neck, whatever the case may be. So some small potential here, but I'm expecting probably tokens on this character. We'll see. Howling Echoes, crit haste polearm on myth track. So that's going to be an upgrade even over the borrow time that I have. So we're going to take that. That is a win. That'll be a nice little DPS boost. And I think I should have most of the crests to upgrade it. Let me see. And I got an 18 weight crest. It's Afflicted Bolstering week, which is kind of a shit week. But I would argue Bolstering is a DPS affix that DPS are shitty at. And Afflicted... you know, there's a lot of ways that Afflicted can be handled that aren't bad. Let me see if I got enough to upgrade this real quick before I jump over to the DK. No, that's not the right one. This is the one I want. Can I get it to 4/4? It's just short on the flight stones. But either way, we do that. I'll run a few keys this week, maybe do the 4 on that. And I'll go slap a Sophic Devotion on this a little bit later. I don't like the way this polearm looks. It's ugly as sin, so I'll change that coming up soon. But overall, I'll take that. That's a pretty big DPS upgrade, and 479 now on this character. I just basically got to plunge in some time into upgrading some of the gear on this character and getting it done. So I probably just need to play more. I wish there was a way to transfer flight stones, but there's not, because like my monk doesn't need them. Alright, Frost DK. So Frost DK, I'm playing strictly a dual wield build, so I would love to get a one-hander weapon. I basically just meme this character around in keys and stuff like that. Basically, I'm waiting for Rider of the Apocalypse to release so that I can play the character again. Let's see. So yeah, weapons would be good. I got 463s here. Would love a neck piece. That's the biggest need. Got decent trinkets that I've just got to get upgraded through the champion track. So again, just need to do more keys. And I probably can do a couple of items on the track itself. Alright. Hero rank shoulders, not really a big thing there. Hero rank shoulders with avoidance, though. That's pretty good. So I will... Or, that's champion with avoidance. I'll probably end up taking... I'm just going to take coins. Because the avoidance ones I can't get... I mean, I could go to 880 champion and they're 476, but I'm going to get above that with hero, and avoidance isn't that valuable to me. So I'm surprised, man. Like, that's fucking coins on this character, and I think it's 6 for the... Oh, wait, I can do a socket. So I'll buy a socket because I have that, and I'll do the socket on... champion. This character's probably never getting above hero track, so I'll craft a ring. And that'll get a socket on it. So I'll put it on this helm for now. So, a little disappointing for the DK, but again, it's not a character I play seriously, so I don't really truly care. Druid, which is the character that I will be as my main alt in Season 4. I'm going to be playing a lot more Bear, playing some more Feral again. Experimenting a little bit with balance. Playing all of these, so back to loving Bear again, back to loving Feral again. So we're going to enjoy ourselves on these specs. For this character, I believe I'm in my Bear set. I would love a good Windwalker trinket, or a good Feral trinket, rather. Oh, and let me get the... I'm right here at this guy. Nope. Nope. It's this guy. Oh, I gotta change my... Forgot my... I gotta fix my keybinds for this character, because I popped into my Horde character to help out a friend do his legendary, and ended up LVI ended up resetting all my keybinds, so I had to fix all of that. Hero track gloves that I already got, so we're taking coins here. That's disappointing considering this character is only 461. Like, taking coins is kind of shitty, but at the same time, like, I didn't do a ton of content on the character this week, so I kind of feel like I, in a way, earned that. Let's see. Only 2 coins, so can't do a socket on that. Let's see, what did he get? Because I will take this seriously for key purposes. Where's my key? A tall 15. Okay, that's not a bad key. I can easily tank that as Bear. So, not the end of days. Would have loved to have seen, like I said, a neck piece would have been good. I'm still wearing a Season 2 neck. I've got Season 2 shoulders. There's just some low pieces here in the 440s that I just need to update. And I probably still need to be doing weekly quests in the Emerald Dream to try and upgrade them that way, just to give me more gearing paths. I just was a little lazy this week. But I go in and I kill the world boss every week, so because I want the bear skin, even though I won't use it. So we'll do that. And finally, we got our main Reno here, the Monk. The Monk, I don't expect to really get anything on. The best thing that I can hope for potentially is a trinket upgrade. Let me just open raid bots just in case here. Yeah, so... Oh, one thing you might have noticed in this video. So I do streaming. I will be streaming tonight, and I'll be streaming Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, usually my streaming nights. As you can see right above my head here, I just thank you for hanging out, obviously, in these videos. If you sub to my YouTube or Twitch channel, I will give you a random history fact. For those that don't know, I was a history major in college and things like that. I love history. It can be like, you can give me a subject and I will try to give you a fact on it. I may have to look some up because I'm not knowledgeable in every aspect. One thing I always encourage people to do is tell me what day you were born, and I will go look up something that happened on your date of birth. But that can also include things like video game history, like what are some really fun video game facts, things like that. So again, biggest thing I'm looking for is right now I'm running Hourglass into a Mythtrack Wraithbark branch. I don't necessarily love this combo. I love some Mythtrack boots that are crit verse or crit mastery. So I'm looking at that. Otherwise, I got 2 good rings. I'm not going to get a Mythtrack Rashawn, so maybe a Mythtrack weapon could potentially be an upgrade, but I'd have to do Sims. I got Mythtrack wrist. I got Myth there. So Hero Track or Mythtrack cloak. Yeah, so basically I'm Mythtrack almost everywhere except for shoulders, cloak, boots, and then I have my one trinket. So those are kind of really the only upgrades that I have, other than potentially a Rashawn's. But again, I'm not killing Farrakh. So Sturgeon and Paulette, that could be one that I could upgrade to Mythtrack and get a couple of small bits of item level. And this Mythtrack ring, it's haste verse with a socket, not the greatest ring. It'd be great for Mistweaver set. But I think I just take this because it's going to be universally useful. So I'll do that. I'll take the Mythtrack shoulders and I'll catalyze them and see where we go. Now, I did think a 22 Algeth'ar last week that put this character officially over 2700 as a tank spec. What do I get this week? 22 Rise on Afflicted Bolstering. That could be nasty, but really, Rise trash isn't the worst. The first room is going to kind of suck, but beyond that, the trash in Rise isn't bad. It's the bosses that are really brutal. So I think that key actually could be pretty doable this week if someone wanted to, if I could find a group that's going to jump on that. I'm put these here so I can find them easier. So yeah, that's the vaults. Overall, Evoker got a win. The DK was a loss. The Druid was a loss. The Hunter was I think was actually a pretty big win, and the Monk got a small win. So overall, I'll take that as a wash overall. 3 characters did well, 2 characters did not. In the good old vault of bullshit, bullshittery that is going. So yeah, overall, I'm pretty happy with how things went in this one. So I'm going to leave this up, however, because I'm pretty confident I'm going to need MDT for this. Do I have it up? Right, there it is. So we're going to take a look at this because I'm fully expecting some things, some shenanigans to go down inside this post. So let's look here. We're going to close raid bots because I don't need it. So let's talk about the Season 4 Mythic Dungeon changes and what I'm going to do. You know what? I'm just going to leave that up here, but I am going to blow this up a little bit so it's a little bit easier to read. Actually, let me fix this. Let me move that. There we go. Now my fat head isn't in the way. We'll do that, and let me see. Let me hide that. There we go. For now. All right. So, of course, Season 4 officially brings back all 8 Dragonflight dungeons to the Mythic Plus rotation. My feeling on this is I'm actually okay with it. Leaving out Dawn of the Infinite, I'm actually okay with as well, because Rise and Fall are not dungeons that I particularly enjoy. I'm personally Curious to see what if they're gonna do anything with Ruby life pools. I think there's a couple the bosses in there need tuning. Brackenhide I think is pretty good as is. There are a couple small things that I'm sure could be done. Stink Breath is a character right off the top of my head that I think needs to be adjusted. And then a couple of the mobs leading between boss 2 and boss 3 that need to be maybe tuned a little bit. Nokhud Offensive, I'm weird in that, at least everyone tells me that I am, and that I actually really like Nokhud. I think the second boss needs a little bit of tuning, and the trash around the first boss needs to be adjusted. But I think other than that, oh, and maybe the last boss, the storm swirls and the last boss need to be tweaked. So there's some bosses that need to be adjusted and a little bit of trash that needs to be tweaked there. We'll go from there. Uldaman Legacy of Tyr, I'm not the biggest fan of it. It's a very kind of one-note dungeon, lots of narrow corridors. Sanguine is a bitch. There are plenty of mobs that I think need to be adjusted, but we'll see what they do with it. Neltharus, I don't think is actually as good as people like it because the dungeon plays itself with chain tech. So hopefully they do something maybe to nerf chain tech, which actually forces you to play the dungeon. Maybe do some adjustments. Azure Vault, I'm going to be curious to see how Azure Vault plays out now that the big skip that everyone was doing has basically been made invisible wall, and it kills you if you try to do it. I found that out doing like a leveling dungeon in Azure Vault. It was funny. Halls of Infusion is the one that I'm the least excited about because the first boss kills frame rates. There's a lot of mobs in here that are just really gross. The checkpointing is awful, and the gauntlet right before the final boss is a little wonky at times. So we'll see what happens with this dungeon if they do any tuning. And then Algeth'ar Academy, I think the area around the second boss could use a little bit of touch tuning. But for the most part, I think Algeth'ar is a really well-tuned dungeon. Maybe some tweaks to the bosses, to Veximus in particular, to do a little bit more damage. And we'll see. Oh, and Azure Vault, the last boss, needs to be like severely tuned. All right. So difficulty changes. I'm not going to go too much into these. There's a post about it. I kind of missed the boat on it. I think it came out during my content break. But basically, they're squishing what keystones are doing. I think overall, it's going to be okay as long as like a plus 10 isn't, or like a plus 15 isn't like the cap of what you can do. Like if there's a player that can get to a plus 20, which is the equivalent of about a plus, is going to be equivalent roughly to a plus 30 key, then I think that that's going to be okay. If there are players that want to push that high and want to do that, they can let them do that. Don't cap us at like 10 being the max. If you put an artificial ceiling on players, then this system's really bad. But overall, for casual players, I think it's fine, and for new and for experienced and veteran key pushers and key players, I don't think this has a ton of impact, except for it could potentially be quality of life bad. So 2, 5, and 10 are where the affixes are at. That's very similar to what we were under the old system before they did the level. Basically, they just key level squished. This is roughly where the affixes were. I think it was 2, 4, and 8. I think was the original one, and then whatever. Crust and Flightstones, basically nothing is really changing. They're removing the Whelpling crust, which is fine, and just kind of adjusting crusts to make sure that they match the new key levels. So again, I'm probably going to be pushing a lot of like 6s and ups as we get, especially maybe not early, but definitely once I get a few pieces of gear. So I'm going to be aspect crest farming like crazy. But we're going to talk about this dungeon updates. So Halls of Infusion to start. Dungeon checkpoint added after defeating Gulping Goliath. Great. So that is the frog boss, for those of you unaware. So the frog boss is the second boss. So you get a checkpoint added where you're right there. Now hopefully they still add the speed boost in, because cool. It's a cool feature for those runbacks. That would be nice if they keep that. But having that checkpoint being there is going to save probably like 1 to 2 minutes. Normalize the spawn rate of crashing tsunami during the gauntlet. I like this change because sometimes you'd get like 2 that would spawn within like 2 seconds of each other, and sometimes you get 1 that would spawn within like 5 seconds of each other. It was really RNG and really kind of punishing, particularly to classes that kind of suffered with movement. So priests, DKs, lesser extent paladins, and really like warlocks and evokers that don't have a ton of like over distance movement. They have this like short burst of movement. So normalizing this, we'll have to see exactly what it's normalized to. I'm sure there's a PTR build that's up. We'll go. Containment apparatus's containment beam damage has been reduced by 42%. So this is a very good change. So if you're not aware, the containment apparatus, let's go into season 2, and Halls of Infusion. So the containment apparatus is this mob here. So this containment beam does movement speed and then inflicts 68, 28 arcane damage. This is assuming a 16 key. If you go up to, what most people are probably going to be playing at, which is 20 key, you can see it, it's still listed as having that 68, 28 damage. But this was happening every second for 3 seconds, and it was scaling up as the dungeon goes up. So obviously that number isn't exactly accurate. But if you didn't kick it, or didn't, because you were wanting to kick Expulse, if you didn't do anything to stop this, it was just really trucking, particularly if it went back to back on a DPS. So a 42% reduction is a massive nerf to that ability. Makes it a little less scary and makes getting RNG'd a little less punishing. The Primalist Gale Singer. So these are the mobs that you fight along with the dragons leading up to the third boss. Wind Buffet has been removed, so that's one kick ability gone. Thunderstorm has been removed, another kick ability gone. And it now uses Thunder Strike, which basically is like Crash Lightning Storm Strike around everything. That may be a kick, we'll see. So a net, if it's a kick, then it's a net save of one kick, which is good. And then the Primalist Earthshaker's Rumble Earth Rim Visual no longer clip into the terrain. This is a good bug fix because you would stand on, like, it would clip into like inside rocks. And basically, if you were standing on top of the rock, it wouldn't show that you were inside the rim, so you thought you were out, and then you just get one shot by it. So very good. So Watcher Iridius of Titanic Fist now has a visual during cast. Great. Good for healers. Tanks, I mean, for the most part, Titanic Fist, if I'm recalling what the ability is. Let us go back to, here we go, Iridius. So Titanic Fist. Yeah, Titanic Fist, basically, it inflicts... Yeah, it was basically a tank thing where tanks couldn't get knocked down by it because of tank reasons. But basically, if your DPS were standing in front of you, they would just get one shot. This had no visual. It was literally just a thing that happened. Like, you maybe get a DBM warning, and then you would get hit. So players, after getting suffered by this, would just do that. Now it's going to be able to be a visual thing. So if you have to move around, it's going to be a much better overall fit into being able to see that. It's very similar. I've imagined it's going to be very similar to what Keeper of Tyr does. So good. Anything that allows the players to get more information without having to use add-ons is a good thing. Power Overload now has a rim visual around the afflicted player. So Power Overload was the basically it was the circle that would give you the player, and it was like a pretty big circle. And basically what this is telling you is that the rim will basically tell you what the outside edge of it is. And Power Field, which is what Power Overload drops, now gradually grows to its full size. I love this change because as the fight goes on, the bigger the fields get. So on high Tyrannica weeks, this was a very punishing boss that you basically had to DPS chuck yourself on. Because you would have fields that would cover like 2/3, like you get 2 or 3 players with it, and it would cover like almost the entire floor if you didn't space it out well. This is now going to be less punishing because now you know you're going to basically be in a race where you have some space, but then you're going to have to be mindful of it as you go through. I think this is a very good change for Power Field. I like the way that this mechanic works. Kajin the Unyielding added rim visuals on ice boulders that will trigger avalanche. So who is Kajin the Unyielding? Let's see, is that the... I can't search mobs here, I don't think. Oh, Kajin is the third boss. Okay. So, I don't remember this boss because I just knew her as the Hailstorm boss. Added rim visuals on ice boulders that will trigger avalanche. So, avalanche is one of her abilities, I'm assuming. So this is good. Again, anything that adds visual clarity for players without having to use add-ons is a good thing. This boss, I think, was pretty much fine. It and Gulping Goliath, I think, were very balanced. Watcher Iridius and Primal Tsunami were very bad. Primal Tsunami Castaway now occurs at 50% health instead of 100% energy, so this makes the Castaway now much more predictable. And makes it so that you're always going to have to deal with the mechanic. I don't know if this is a buff or a nerf or not. I don't know if I like this change, because if you were able to burst the boss fast enough, you could avoid the mechanic. Like, you should be able to be rewarded for that. And at high enough keys, you weren't ever going to get past that. Maybe it was just like an energy increase thing. It was a little inconsistent, and so it made it little RNG for players. Whereas, you know, you do it at 50% health, it splits the fights into two very clear phases. I don't know. I don't know what I think about it. I don't particularly like it because I think you should be able to reward players that maximize their DPS in that first phase. We'll see. I'm not sure about that. General, timer of Azure Vault was increased by 1 minute. So I don't remember what the timer for Azure Vault was, but because they've removed the skip, I think that is probably necessary. So Crystal Fury. So these are the rock mobs at the very early part of the dungeon. Piercing Shard, and the impact area has a precast visual, which is good, and the impact area has been reduced, which is also good. Again, visual clarity, which is nice. Conjured Lashes, Mystic Vapors. Again, these are the mobs at the very beginning of the dungeon. That first pull in particular, there was like 30 kicks that you had to do, and you had to really time your CCs well. And if you weren't in a group that could coordinate your CCs and stun chains well, like these Mystic Vapors would just nuke targets. So them being cast less frequently, good little nerf to the trash, makes those pulls a little bit safer for less coordinated groups. Arcane Tender's erratic growth cast time has been increased to 3.5 from 2.5. Alright, so Azure Vault was Season 1. So let's go... What was this mob called again? Arcane Tender. Okay, so this erratic growth cast here basically was would turn you into a sprout. So it now has a little bit of a longer cast time on it. So it makes it a little bit easier to kick. Perfectly fine. Unstable Curator's Heavy Tome will now be cast less frequently. That's a good change. The Brackenhide Breakers, which are the Drakthir-like mobs in between the first and second boss, if I recall. Shoulder Slam was a very, very annoying ability where basically your tank wanted to just pile into a corner and pray. But they basically made it so that the knockback is now there. It's now a physical damage spell, which makes it much more mitigatable, but increases physical damage taken by 10%. That's fine. And then being cast less frequency. I think overall that's a good balance change for the Brackenhide Breakers. Still makes them a little bit dangerous because if you're not being mindful about the physical damage taken increase, like you're going to have to be very careful with it. But it being cast less frequency and not having that knockback is a really nice quality of life change. All right, Laymore, Erupting Fissures now follows current target player. All right, that is the first boss. So Erupting Fissure targets the ground in front of itself and knocking any players struck. Also, any Leyland Sprouts caught in the rupture are destroyed. So following the players, it's been a while since I've done this dungeon. Someone that maybe remembers this, let me know. But the fact that it follows the current target player, that tells me that like it's going to like rotate where it's at instead of you trying to like pre-position the boss. So if you get stuck with like trees not being in a great spot and your tank gets caught out of position for whatever reason and the boss just targets, he would be static. Is that now going to be like, oh, if the tank moves, you know, this way, does the boss swing with you that way? That's the case. That's a very good change. And again, makes that boss a little bit easier on tanks. It's a quality of life thing, really. Azure Blade, reduce the frequency of periodic damage from overwhelming energy to 2 every 2.5 seconds versus every 2. So Azure Blade is the second boss, which we go down here for. So overwhelming energy, basically, this is when you have your second phase where you have to like kill all the adds around Azure Blade in order to get them out of this so you can DPS them again. This is doing damage every 2 seconds. It's now every 2.5 seconds until the illusions have been destroyed. That's a good change. It's a little bit less stressful on healers because people were spread out and stuff, and it made it very hard for certain healers to really have success. It really is hard for all healers to have success. Umberskull, Oppressive Miasma removed a mythic difficulty. Thank you. This was basically a random slow that happened onto characters for no freaking reason. It was annoying. Ridiculous. Crystallize now pulses arcane damage while the crystal is shielded. Okay, let's look at Crystallize. Again, I'm trying to remember these abilities. Is that Talash? No, Talash is perfectly fine. That boss is pretty balanced, actually. Yeah, oppressive miasma basically was a movement speed. Like it would stack, and like the only way to remove it was by like freedoming or whatever. Like you were just kind of suck. Like this being gone is good. Um, don't see the little ads on it here though, unfortunately. Yeah, it doesn't have it here, which is a little sad. Whatever. Um, but while the crystal is shielded, so that just makes sure that like those, you want to make sure you're prio targeting those crystals. Good. And crackling vortex now has a larger movement radius. Let's see, crackling vortex. Is that in here? It is not in here. That must be. Oh, I think I know what that is. That's a good change. Brackenhide Hollow. So let's look at some trash first. Rotbow Stalker was renamed to Rotbow Ranger. Good. Shoot now has a recast of 6 seconds. That's a big nerf, actually. And then Diseased Meat, renamed to Rotten Meat, whatever, is now Poison Dispel. Okay, that's actually really good. I really like that, because Diseased Meat before that was not dispellable, and it would just, like, make all the hyenas just jump at you, and you would just get crushed. So now if you can Poison Dispel it, you can save, like, a weak DPS or something like that, that you can do that. That's a very nice change. Makes those trash packs pretty free now. Brackenhide Shaper, Summer Lashes, and Touch of Decay have been removed. Great, that's 2 kicks that are gone. Stink Breath. Hey, I called for Stink Breath nerfs. We're getting them. Violent Whirlwind's radius has been reduced to 6 yards. Was 7. Good, because melee classes that don't have extended range, like Woodwalker and Fury Warrior, and warriors in general, and Enhancement Shaman, things like that, now can actually attack Stink Breath even while he's doing Violent Whirlwind. You just have to position. It'll be very close. Go from there. Stink Breath now locks facing after targeting a player. Great. And now has a visual while casting. Great. I love these changes for Stink Breath. It's going to make him, it may not be a mob that you still want to pull in like the very highest of keys, but in most standard W weekly key routes that many people do, Stink Breath was always in the line and he was annoying to face. Now he's going to be a little less annoying. I think these are all good changes. And then Gutstabber's Withering Poison has been removed. Good. Brackenhide Scourge's Bloody Bite and the Clawfighter's Bloody Bite has been removed. And the Rot Chancing Totem has been removed. Thank God. All of these were just little annoyances. And now basically these trash mobs, you're basically just going to yank them in and just blow them up and get your count for it. Great stuff. Alright, encounters. Hat Claw's Warband. So this is the first boss in Brackenhide. The haste bonus has been reduced to 5% versus 10 on Predatory Instincts. That's good because Predatory Instincts would just... The damage was like there, but the haste buff, just the frequency of damage, would make it very hard for a healer to counterplay it. Now it's a little less freaky in terms of, or a little less scary. I think that's fine. Mark for Butcher's damage frequency has been increased to 1 second versus 0.5 seconds. I think that's okay. Gash's Frenzy's damage reduced by 21%. Great, because Gash Frenzy basically made it so that Dwarf was meta that season. Because you could just Stone Form it or Dark Iron Dwarf it. Go from there. And its duration reduced to 15 seconds versus 45 is an amazing change. One that should have been made during Season 2 when Brackenhide was in the pool. It's great. Algeth'ar Academy. Okay. Spellbound Scepter's Arcane Rain has been removed. Okay, that's fine. I think that's good. It's a kick that's been taken out. And Spectral Invoker's Arcane Missiles damage has been reduced by 50%. Those are both fine. Croth. Firestorm's frequency has been reduced. Okay. That's a good change. Particularly if you're also battling wind. Savage Peck's initial and periodic damage has been reduced. Okay, so that just makes Croth a little less... basically, it's just a little bit of a quality of life change. Firestorm's frequency being reduced is going to make it much more friendly to casters, particularly those that don't have any good movement or casting, so think Shadow Priest. And to like Destro Locks and things like that have to like plant and cast because everything is hard casted and very little on the move casting. And having to constantly dodge Firestorm made your damage feel really bad on those fights. So that's just going to make the fight a little less painful. Good. Echoes of Doragosa unleashed energy added to new... Okay, so they're trying to buff that. Neltharus. Each burning chain can only be used once. Good. Now stuns all enemies in it and increases their damage taken by 50% for 5 seconds. Okay, so they made chains less about just killing everything for you and more about like, hey, use these and line them up with a damage window. I think that's a little bit better, and it makes you have to think about your chain usage. Those are good changes for that. Chargath, which is the first boss if you go right, not the mammoth, but the first boss on the other side. Pulsing damage near Chargath has been removed. Good. Fiery focuses channel damage on a now channels damage on current target. Good. Grounding change now persists on a defeated player. Very good. And now does a small knockback to the player when applied. So it's a visual cue for you to know that you have that. All very good. I like all these changes that makes that boss fight a little less stressful. And then Warlord Saga, Curse of the Dragon Horde now stacks. So you can get multiple of these. That's good. Duration was reduced to 30 seconds, was 5 minutes. Good. And then Azure Stone of Might has been removed. Good. I think those are all good changes for Warlord Saga. Nokhud Offensive, General Longbow, multi-shot has been removed. Great. Rain of Arrows cast less frequency. Good, because that was casting like on cooldown basically. Like once one would end, it would channel right back into it. So that's a good change for that trash mobs. Again, helps those specs that need to sit down and channel and target things. Nokhud Beastmaster's Hunt Prey damage bonus damage reduced to 25%. That's a fine change. It really wasn't that scary even on high fortified weeks, but the fact that we're doing reduced damage is just going to make the key a little more friendly. Nokhud Thunderfist Storm Shock has been removed, and the Stormbolt has been removed. So that's 2 kicks gone. Good. And then Algeth'ar Khan, the frequency of storm winds during intermission has been reduced to every 10 seconds versus every 6 seconds. That's a good change. That's going to make Algeth'ar Khan a little more friendly. Ruby Life Pools, Primal Terra Sentry Stone Missiles has been removed. So that's a kick gone. And then Karaka, which is the last boss, I believe. Inferno course duration has been increased to 4 seconds, and the periodic damage has been reduced. So it just makes it a little more friendly. I think it's a fine change. I would like to see something done to the last boss still, but we'll see. And then Fire Resurgence damage has been reduced by 50%. That's the flame swirlies in that like intermission phase. Fine. And then Dawn of the Infinite hard mode now has hero track item tuning on it. Cool. Overall, I think these are really, really good changes for this Mythic Dungeon pool. They made a lot of kicks go away, which is good. And they made a lot of things have visual clarity, which is good. And they made some things that are going to just generally improve quality of life for healers, especially when we're in a period where basically there's a one-shot meta. So overall, I'm pretty happy with those changes. I think they're really, really good, really interesting, and I'm excited to see how they're going to play into Season 4 of Dragonflight. So that's the end of this video, guys. I hope you all enjoyed it. Hope you enjoyed the vaults and everything after that. So until the next video, hope you all stay safe. Hope you're enjoying yourself. You're having fun. You keep on gaming. And I'll see you next time.